so happy you're here with me today. The block we're working on in this video is this 12-inch sailboat block. Now there are two different ways that we do this. One is to have just one color in the block with a background color and have the boat base and the sails all the same color. Another way is to mix and match the colors in the sailboat base and the sails to have different colors for each of those units. Now if you have one of our kits, then you have all the pieces you need already cut for you. But if not, if you want to make a block like this out of your stash fabric, this is what you're going to need to cut. First, we need 4.5-inch squares, one 4.5-inch square in the color that you want to use for your boat base, three 4.5-inch squares of the color that you want to use for your sails, four 4.5-inch squares of your background color, one 3.5 by 6.5-inch rectangle in the color of your boat base, and two 3.5-inch by 9.5-inch rectangles for the side pieces for the background for your sails. And that's all. So the first thing we're going to do is make some half square triangles. How we're going to do that today, we're going to start with the background squares, and on the wrong side we're going to draw a diagonal line from one corner to another. Now you can use anything you like for this. I like to use a pencil, but this line is not going to show in your final block, so it can be a pencil, a pen, fabric marker, whatever works best for you and is convenient for you. So all you have to do is take a ruler and draw a line from one corner to the other all the way across that square. We're going to do that on all four of these 4.5-inch squares of your background color. So then you continue on and do all four of those. Then we're going to place one background square right sides together with each of the squares for your sail color and the boat base color. Okay, so we're going to put these right sides together, match up your sides, and then we're going to sew a seam on both sides of this center line that you drew. 1/4 inch on this side and 1/4 inch on this side. So you're going to sew a seam on both sides of that line. So then you have units that look like this. So there you can see there's a seam on either side of the line that you drew. So you're going to do that for all four sets of squares. Then we're going to press to set these seams. Just quickly, lightly press each of those. And then we're going to cut these on the same line that you drew, right down the middle. So this is why it doesn't matter what you use to make that line, because it's going to disappear right now when you use that same line as a cutting line to cut these into 2 units each. So when you do that, you'll have 8 half square triangles. You'll have 2 in your boat base color and 6 in the color that you're using for your sails. Next, we're going to square these up to 3.5-inch half square triangles. And there are a lot of different ways to do this, and I'm going to show you 3. The first one is if you don't have a specialty ruler for triangles. If you're just going to use a regular square ruler, which is perfectly fine, I'm going to show you how to do that. And the first step is to press this open with the seam allowance going behind the darker of the 2 fabrics. Then you take your regular square ruler, and we're going to line up this 45-degree angle line here with the seam between the 2 colors in the center of your block. And then we're going to slide this up toward the upper right corner. just so that there's room on both the right side and across the top. And we're going to trim that to a perfect corner. And then, since this corner is perfect now, because you just cut it, we're going to flip that around to the bottom left side. And we're going to line up the left side and the bottom with the 3.5-inch lines on the ruler. And again, the diagonal line, the 45-degree angle line, we're going to line that up with the center line on your block. So there we have a 3.5-inch line across the bottom and along the left side, and the diagonal line on the center line between the two colors in your square. And then we're going to trim again up the right side and across the top, and you have a perfect half square triangle. So that's one way if you don't have a specialty ruler. Now the next way I'm going to show you is if you have a triangle square up ruler that's made especially for this purpose. This one is available from Quilt in a Day, and this is my favorite way to do it. All you have to do is locate the measurement that you want your finished block to be, and in this case we're making a 3.5-inch half square triangle. So all we have to do is locate the 3.5-inch line on the ruler, and we're going to line it up with the seam. You can see we have the 3.5-inch line lined up with the seam on our piece. So we're going to cut up the right and across the top, and then press this one open, again with the seam allowance behind the darker of the two colors. So we're going to be gentle with that, not stretch it and distort it. And now you have a perfect 3.5-inch half square triangle, and all you have to do is trim your little dog ears. And you can do this with scissors or with the rotary cutter, whichever way you're most comfortable. But that's the second way to have a perfect 3.5-inch half square triangle. This is my favorite way because you only have to cut twice instead of 4 times for each one. It took me a long time to trust this ruler because I was afraid I was going to mess them up somehow, but it works beautifully. So if you have that, that's how that works. And then another way that I like to do these is with fussy cut rulers. If you happen to have these. Now this is a set of 3, also available from Quilt in a Day. It comes with a 3.5-inch, 4.5-inch, and a 6.5-inch fussy cut ruler. All 3 come together in one set. So if you happen to be making a half square triangle in one of those measurements, 3.5, 4.5, or 6.5 inches, these work really well for this purpose. Start by pressing it open, again with the seam allowance behind the dark side, the darker of the two fabrics. Just press that open, and then, now this is where it's handy to have a small cutting mat that you can maneuver, and I'll show you why. Take the 3.5-inch fussy cut ruler, and we're going to place that on our piece. It doesn't have to be exactly centered, but as long as there's fabric all the way around, then you know you're going to get a perfect cut. We want to line up this diagonal line with the center line on your block where the two colors meet, and we're going to trim up the right side and across the top. Get that out of the way. Now, without moving the fabric or the ruler, we're going to gently spin this little cutting mat so that we can make the final 2 cuts. Nothing moved, thankfully. So cut up the right and across the top, and once again a perfect half square triangle, 3.5 inches. So whichever method you choose, whatever is your favorite way to make those, do the same thing for all 8 of your half square triangles for this block. And once you've done that, you have all of the pieces that you need to make this block. So we can go ahead and start laying it out and see how it comes together. First, for your boat base, you're going to need that rectangle and then 2 half square triangles, one on either side, going in that direction. And then your sails, we will line up just like this. Now again, these sails can go in either direction, or you can alternate. You can have all of them going one way and all of them going the other way, or you can alternate, have half of them going in each direction, however you choose. And then we have the rectangles in the background fabric for the sides of your sails. So this is how this block comes together. So we'll do the easiest piece first and make the boat base. All you have to do is flip these pieces right sides together. So 1/4 inch seam here, 1/4 inch seam on this side, and then open that up and press those seams toward the rectangle in the middle. Press those seams inward toward that rectangle, and your boat base is finished. That's all you have to do for that. To make the sails, we're going to make 2 columns. We're going to sew these 3 together and these 3 together, just like this. Just flip these right sides together, sew 1/4 inch here, seam here, flip that right sides together, and sew 1/4 inch seam there. So you have 2 columns of 3 half square triangles that look like this. And one of the most important things about making this block is that these seams need to be pressed in opposite directions so that these 2 pieces will fit together well. You have so many seams coming together in the back of these with the half square triangles that it's really important that when you're matching these up, the seams are going in opposite directions. So it doesn't matter which side goes up and which side goes down, as long as they're opposite. So then when you put these 2 units right sides together, those seams will snuggle up together and make a good smooth transition for you right there. Now, pinning in a situation like this is never a bad idea. You can put a pin here and one here, and sew 1/4 inch seam along the center line. And once you do that, it doesn't matter which way you press that center seam, whichever way makes the block lie flattest and whichever way is easiest for you, because that seam is not going to have to match up to anything else. And then all you have to do is attach your 2 rectangles, one on either side of that unit, and then press those seams behind the rectangles, press them in this direction, so that when you attach it to the boat base, those seams are going in opposite directions, so they will snuggle up well. So all you have to do is put that right sides together with your sail unit. Again, those seams are going to snuggle up really well right there, going in opposite directions, and all you have to do is sew 1/4 inch seam along that edge, and you have your finished sailboat block, just like this. So if you have one of our kits, you have enough pieces already cut for you to make 12 of these blocks, and you can make all of them have matching bases and sails, or you can alternate and mix and match the sails and the bases, or you can do some of each. You can have a pink boat and then a pink and blue boat, or an all blue boat and a yellow and blue boat. However you want to do it, there's enough pieces for you to mix and match so that you can make it your own. I would love to see pictures of your finished work, so if you post a picture, please tag me. I hope you enjoyed this video today, and I hope you've enjoyed making this fun little sailboat block. If there are any other blocks that you'd like to see videos on, please leave a comment below and let me know, and I'll be happy to work on that for you.